Welcome, everybody, to the Titan Watch podcast or the Jurassic Park Podcast. I don't know what it's called anymore. I am Brad Jost, and with me, as always, is the wonderfully laughing Tom Jurassic. And today we're going to be covering Monarch, Legacy of Monsters, Episode 4, Season 2, Episode Trespass. And this is a good one. And there's a lot that we've already talked about for this episode. If you're viewing this now, we've already recorded it, but the video failed, so we have to redo it. But, Tom, how you feeling? How you feeling after a reattempt at this episode?
Ecstatic. Overjoyed. Absolutely exuberant that I get to do this again. I'm making sure to get these words out just to make sure the reference to the nice comment that I got later in the episode makes a lot of sense. So I am zealously overjoyed.
You're following the script exactly as we said it before.
Wait,
so that's great. Yeah. Oh, you didn't get it? I sent it to you on Facebook.
Brad proceeds to do Owen Grady impression.
No. I didn't write that. That was not me. Anyway, we are going to start talking about episode 4. It's a pretty fun episode.
Yes.
And, well, I say fun, but really we're not starting off on a good note here. We're starting off in the year 1962, and Bill is writing. He's writing some notes. He's on a boat. We cut to another shot, 1963. Bill is wandering through the woods in the rain, looking distraught.
This point, in 1963, he's looking distraught, but he is also starting to grow out the beard that he has in Kong Skull Island.
He is. He's looking much more like John Goodman at this point, I guess. Kind of. Just in the face. But
I kept wondering. I did genuinely wonder at some point. I was like, are they going to slot John Goodman in for the bits where he's got a beard and then slot him back out when he doesn't?
Well, yeah. I mean, I was wondering because this next one here takes place in 1964, and it's there's a jump cut because we do know based off specifically. I mean, I'm sure it was mentioned in Kong Skull Island, but in the last episode we talked about the archive dates and stuff like that for projects from Monarch, and July 4th, 1973, it said Skull Island, South Pacific. So we do know. There was like a 9-year gap there, right? Between 1964, he looks like the guy that he is in this show, and somehow he becomes John Goodman in 9 years, which I'm sure, is a hard 9 years tracking down some stuff. But yeah, so we do see the next jump cut is 1973, and we see, packing up an office, a pile of ashes. Wow. We see a box of William Randa deceased pile of ashes, I guess. But I was pretty messed up here because I initially thought that this was like just a continuation. We kept seeing Bill doing his thing, and I assumed this is Bill packing up a box, like leaving. Maybe he's moving to a different office, and then you see deceased, and I'm like, dude, dead. We're here. Yeah, we're here at this point in the story, and that was pretty brutal. So.
It's
terrible time.
It's interesting
for
having something where you know where the end cap is, isn't it? Because you're kind of like, are we going to squeeze out more story? Are we going to get more of Bill before we get to this point? And then it's quite definitively like, no, he's dead.
Yeah, and I imagine we'll get more Bill along the lines here, but at this point, just showing the progression of him. Being away, being on the road and stuff like that, it shows that he was having a tough time because last we saw him in the last episode, he had just uncovered the letter to Lee from Keiko, which was kind of, would be a very distressing letter to read. You've been kind of backstabbed by your two best friends, your people you love, and now he's kind of traversing on his own. Which is sad. And the last shot that we see in the intro before the credits is 2015, so a year post Godzilla 2014. And that box is opened up, and somebody's digging through it, and they end up pulling out that journal, and you see it getting put into an Apex bag. And
Yes, very specifically, not just a resealable bag, an Apex branded resealable bag. So
yeah,
I love how this show got the same exact laugh the second time around. Like it didn't fall flat. That's perfect. It's almost as if
yeah.
we're redoing this recording step by
It
step.
said in the
But
notes, laugh here.
I do enjoy that. And what I think I really like more broadly with this entire section is that it interweaves Apex into the background. So we know that they have stolen this quite early on, and it's been a factor that's in the background throughout some of the Monsterverse films. But also, I like that we find out that him discovering Skull Island is related directly to him tracking the migration route of this Titan. So it's a really cool way to recontextualize Kong Skull Island, recontextualize the discovery of that island, and connect it into the series here. And I made the point the first time around when we did this recording, I'm completely breaking the fourth wall at this point now, that when it came to this season, I was really unsure if the flashbacks would work well. I kind of felt like they'd sort of run their course in terms of here's the story up until the point of Keiko is back in the modern day. And then I was like, okay, that's probably it now. But they found a really compelling way to do it by delving back into what we know and adding layers and depth to that in a way that actually feels meaningfully significant. So I really, really enjoyed it. And I am sure that we will see even more of that later in this season.
Maybe. You know what I might do is I might keep the original audio recording for the podcast listeners so they can hear me. If you want to hear me go on a long tangent about bags, you can hear that in the podcast episode. I can't replicate that. That's not going to work. But we do cut to...
What I'm actually going to do, Brad, I'm going to get you an Apex branded tote bag.
Oh, sweet. I can't wait. I'll keep my eyes in the mail. But we do cut to the current timeline. We're at an OFU beach. It's American
Yes.
Samoa. And there's two guys that are going to go surfing. They're in a Titan alert. They don't care that the flags
Before
are up.
those two guys go surfing, Brad, those
What did I miss?
flags that are up, it's literally like we're doing it beat by beat. There's the...
Quite literally. To see how quickly I forget things.
There's the red Godzilla warning flags, and what design do they have of them, Brad?
Oh, it's this design right here. This one right here.
There we go, the classic design. The second time I've
Godzilla.
seen that posted today.
Anybody watching this is just thinking we're absolutely crazy because we're cracking up about absolutely nothing. But the thing is, we did this word for word, basically, of what we did before. Yes, we do get the classic Godzilla graphics, which is very cool. We do know that there's something under the sand. And what I liked about this sequence was they did things a little bit differently. They gave us some GoPro footage, which felt nice. And what did it tie? It felt like it tied in. It felt like something else that we've seen before. What was that? Did it feel something? This is too meta. I can't.
Oh, no way. It's interesting you said that because I felt that it was a bit like the Cloverfield film in terms of obviously some of the footage you get in that, but also I've referenced it before, whereas in Cloverfield you have the like parasites that fall off of the monster. It's really funny that I keep referencing Cloverfield because I haven't actually seen the film. I've just watched some lore videos on it, but I know that in that creature has got like these that creature has got parasites that drop off of it. And it feels very similar here in terms of that and the footage style as well.
So you will never...
Now,
so
dear listener,
have you ever seen any
viewer,
of the Cloverfields? What's the deer? Tell us. No.
Dear listener, dear viewer, what I have just done for you is I've deviated this conversation from the previous recording that you'll never see because Brad did not get this revelation the first time around. So what we're calling this is the Monarch episode 4 Trespass recording New Game Plus version where there's a couple of new scenes inserted here and there.
Podcast is not getting any of this content, but so they're gonna have no clue that you have never watched Cloverfield. Now I'm going to
No.
demand that you go watch them. And the fact that you've never seen John Goodman in the sequel to that. You never had to sit there and watch a Super Bowl game and then realize that they're going to drop a new one on Netflix at midnight or whatever it was. Dude, unreal. Oh my God.
Wait, no, I've told a lie. I have seen one of the Cloverfield films. I've seen Overlord.
Okay. Wait, was Wyatt in that movie?
Yes, I think he was actually.
Oh my God. This is all
Yeah.
It's all I've never seen
connected.
Overlord, so you've seen the one that I haven't seen.
There we go.
Does that
Honestly,
actually count as part of the Cloverfield universe?
It's part of the Cloverfield universe, but it's so disconnected from the actual Cloverfield films.
Yeah.
Like, it is basically just its own zombie story. I don't know if the idea is that it's like the same, like the nectar that Tigrato are getting or something that's making the zombies, but they never really dive into the connection.
Well, anyway, what
So,
a tangent.
back onto the script from the first recording.
All right, I said GoPro footage. Wow, cool. How did they do that?
No way,
That's
that
nice.
makes me think
Yeah.
of Cloverfield.
Cloverfield, yeah. And then at that point, we get a Monarch boat that notices them and tells them, hey,
Yes.
go back to the shore. There's a Titan alert. You know, you need to go back. And you can see the Titan like off the coast on the radar. And the Crusties, as like I call them, they erupt out of the sand and they start to attack like the two guys that are there. So
is that kind of like what happens to a Frosty when it's been left in the machine too long?
Actually, it's like a slushy. What was the slushies that were in the Cloverfield universe? Because that was like a big. I don't know if you remember back in like 2008 or whenever that movie came out. People were talking about slushies nonstop because of those movies. But yeah, tangent again. Tentacles. This is what I like. I like tentacles.
Yes.
Slusho. That's what it was called, right? So at this point,
sorry, we've cut the conversation up so weirdly there, where I've gone slusho after you've just said I like tentacles.
Yeah, that's true. I do like tentacles, and I like when they specifically come out of the water and pull down ships. This is something I mentioned before, but I don't like the ocean personally. So the fact that I'm cool with seeing tentacles pull down ships is unique for me. But yeah, I like that moment. I like this Kraken style, attack sequence. It's very cool.
Yeah. It's something we spoke about in the last episode, the mythology of kind of the Kraken and tying into stories of oceans and things. I do find it interesting that it's a very small Monarch boat that's sent to respond. Like, you think they've got Outpost 18 and they've already almost had an encounter where they knew they were in trouble, and yet at this point somebody else somewhere at Monarch has gone, oh yeah, we'll send the tiny ship that's no comparison to the Titan. That's fine, it's not going to be in danger.
Yeah. Yeah, well, they're just warning ships, I guess, just to tell people to go home and get off the water. It was probably bigger than the ship that Lee got on, like the little boat that Lee got on, right?
To be fair.
So
but that boat had plot armor.
Yeah, it's the fastest boat in the history of boats, I think. But we cut back to San Francisco, and Kate is waking up on the beach, and she's had a hard night. She was out in the club, and she was with a friend, and then kind of disregarded the Titan watch and stuff like that. The friend left, and now she's stumbling awake here on the beach, and she starts to feel something though, and she feels that that vibration, the sound. She gets into the water and she hears like the pulse and everything. So it's cool to see like something is awakening in Kate as well as Keiko, because she also experienced it back in which is cool within this same context of this story, right? Because of this creature, I guess. So I think that's pretty cool. She's being related to the monsters in that way. She's, because I mentioned it in, I think it was like maybe the first episode or so, talking about the way that the monsters. Oh yeah, I think it was when this Titan escaped out of the Axis Mundi and went through Skull Island, and Kong was chasing it. It's like these monsters always have like some sort of sense, I think, about them that
Yeah.
they know, they're aware, right, when monsters are around, and like that's why Godzilla is out there always like
You see
taking
it all the
monsters off the
time. It's like
table.
I watched literally right before we started our recording 3 hours ago at this point. I watched a clip from Godzilla King of the Monsters because I was like, oh, I want to see the clip with the Argo. And you see that when they fly into the storm and they're getting closer to Ghidorah and Rodan's pursuing them, and they get closer and closer and closer, and then suddenly Rodan senses Ghidorah and backs off.
Yeah. Yeah. So there's something there. I feel like there's got to be a connection between what she's experienced, what Keiko's
Yeah.
experiencing, and what these monsters are experiencing with each other, or something like that. So it's
Yeah.
interesting and unique. So,
But also,
yeah,
there's the broader parallel that I brought up the last time we spoke about this as well, which is the fact that she had that connection with Godzilla in season 1, and Godzilla finds safety in the water. So I found it interesting that you see her going into the water here to get some clarity. It just felt like a interesting parallel to Godzilla.
it's a nice place to reflect, as long as you're not afraid of Kraken.
Yeah.
But yeah, back in San Francisco. Oh no, sorry, that's San Francisco. So back on the Monarch ship, they notice that the Titan
Yeah.
is going towards San Francisco, and that's not good. I mean, what's up with these Titans wanting
No.
to go to San Francisco? I don't know. But Pensacola, Florida, we're back there, and now we've got May, Lee,
So
Keiko, Kintaro, and Hiro there. Attempting to do some stuff
yeah.
here, but this is the first time I think in the show, I think it's the first time they call it Titan X. So outside of whatever the villagers called it, I forget what they called it, but now we've got Titan X to refer to it as.
Yeah, so it's interesting because the whole idea here is it's going to make landfall in 23 hours, and Apex say that their technology is a proof of concept, which is quite interesting in its own right, really. And that's something that we'll see factors in a little bit later in this episode. But I've just been completely thrown by my notes on this episode. But yeah, so there is one other thing that I
So funny you did that
shouted out
before
last
too.
time around. Yeah. There's one other thing I shouted out last time that I want to shout out this time, which is Lee Shaw's shirts.
Lee, I noticed his shirts as well, and I think it was a later episode, but like I was looking at his shirt and I'm like, why is he wearing this shirt? So I'm confused about
Yeah,
this character. Like I feel like
he's just a dude.
Lee as a character is falling. Now I got to add that music into the episode. Lee as a person is falling apart. I don't understand who he is anymore because of his shirts. So
Yeah. I mean, yeah, it's meant to. It actually is reflective of the character's spiral into madness. If you didn't know that, Brad.
Oh, is it? Okay. Yeah. I guess
Yeah.
he's spiraling into madness. But so I know.
Wait, I wear shirts.
You do wear shirts, but back in San Francisco, Kate is this part really resonated with me. I enjoyed this one because, in an interesting way, it's a very somber sequence at first. Kate's walking through the traffic because people are evacuating because of the Titan alert, right? And there's traffic there in the middle of the road, and she's walking through, and a mother spots her, and she recognizes her, and she's like, "Where have I hope you've been okay. Like, it's been so long or whatever." And she is the mother of a child that Kate once taught. And if we know anything about Kate's students, there was the whole bus and the attack on San Francisco from. See, now I did it this time. That's a different movie completely. I read your part
was
in the
that
script.
a
I'm sorry.
reference to the Lost World?
I think so. But so it's it's a somber moment there where I'm thinking, oh man, this sucks. Like Kate is having a hard time in this moment, especially because of everything from 2014 with Godzilla, and then now unleashing a new Titan to the world. and it's all her fault. And she's got to be the
No,
one to deal with
but
it.
come on, right? Like you could argue if we're talking about whose fault it is at this point. I mean, I feel like I made this reference in episode 3, not our recording of episode 4, but it's okay. We're just gonna glitch the matrix a moment. You could argue it really is Shaw's fault getting stuck in the Axis Mundi, Brad.
I mean, you could go back. You never know whose fault it starts with. Look, I can't remember every line. Now I'm wondering, like, are we going to start repeating words from other episodes now that we think are part of last episode? Because I don't know. But yeah, if you want the proper one, go listen to the podcast. This is us just goofing around because we needed the footage. But I'm blaming Kate because she's the one who hit the button, just like, you know what? She did it just like Maisie. From Jurassic World Fallen Kingdom. They're alive.
Oh no. This in this new version, it's a different line that happens in that film. This is the old
different line. Yeah.
Anyway, what I was going to say on that is actually, I think it's interesting that you literally have the line, "You could have run and saved yourself, but you did something. Thank you," because that is reflective of where Kate's character is right now. So she has run, she saved herself, but actually she knows that there's more to be done. So this is literally telling you her character trajectory right now is she's going to be going back to Tokyo. It's why she had the jumper on earlier in the episode. She is going back to Tokyo.
Yeah, and it's kind of nice that it ties into Keiko as well, right? Because she, had this argument in the previous episode, I believe, in the past with Lee about like jumping into dangerous situations, and
yes,
Kate's got that same problem.
Yeah.
Kate's got the same exact issue.
Yeah, she really does.
Yeah.
Now we've got to talk about we've got to talk about, right? Okay, Tim gets to reference the best line in the Monsterverse.
Last time we did this,
Sarah's let them fight. Like he just gets to reference that. But is there something we need to talk about before that, Brad?
There's something we need to talk about before that. Last time you wanted to jump ahead, but this time we're not, even though you kind of did. Because there is one more scene in Florida where they, speaking of shirts, right? Lee's got on the wild shirt.
I literally have no notes about this scene.
He's got the hat on, and I think he's got sunglasses on or something, and he's acting kind of wild, maybe drunk or something in this bar. Their plan is to cause a bar fight, to cause a distraction. It looks just like you at the moment, yeah. And they cause a distraction for the Apex employee who has his gear there with him. They end up stealing his gear, cloning it, or doing something with the key card, or so. I don't know what they exactly did, but they end up cloning it and putting his gear back, so he didn't even realize it was missing. And now they can get into Apex whenever they want.
That's basically their plan, is to try and get into Apex. And as part of that, you also see them disable Brenda's car, don't you? Which is, again, a part of their whole kind of plan to try and sneak into Apex. And then we come to Outpost 18, and we get Tim getting to reference the best line from the franchise, Serizawa saying, "Let the monsters fight," and him being right.
Yeah. And is that something that Tim wants, do you think? Or I know that he's the one who,
he's sort of saying they're right. And it's interesting because you then get Trissop, I think, in this moment arguing more about being focused on coexistence. And there's then discussion about how Apex are trying to figure out how their brains work. And I think that's kind of interesting, right? Because it's sort of two trains of thought, which is actually, are the Titans intelligent? Do they have thoughts, feelings, and emotions? What goes on in their brains? Versus, are they just this primal thing that their instinct is to fight? And actually, I think what we know is that neither train of thought is right. The Titans fall in the middle. They are emotional. They are creatures. They're not just monsters. But also, at the same time, there is something very primal about their sort of predatory relationships with each other and how they coexist. And that was a way better summary than I said in the first recording, so I'm just going to pat myself on the back.
Absolutely, man. And like I kind of just mentioned before, which was a new addition to this episode about Godzilla going and trying to knock off all these other creatures, trying to keep Earth, on a steady basis there.
Yeah.
It's interesting, like, about their coexistence. Do these monsters even want to coexist? I don't even know, but he's making a case for it, and mentions that hey, your motto is discovery is their defense, right? So
Discovery and defense in the time of monsters.
yeah, so maybe their discovery is their defense, and it's interesting. At least these different perspectives on what we should be doing with these monsters: fighting them, killing them, nuking them, or coexisting with them. And that, I feel like, it definitely plays into what Jonah and the Orca crew did, right?
Yes.
In King of the Monsters, and their coexistence was, hey, let these monsters just control everything around the world. We'll coexist. Life will come back, and we'll all be better for it.
It's interesting as well, because that train of thought is predicated inside Monarch by Emma Russell as well, isn't it? After she loses her son, so you almost in this series get a sense from director Barris, especially, that there isn't a singular approach to how to deal with the Titans, and that's the same in the film. That's the same reason why Emma Russell ends up doing what she does, because there isn't one unified approach to dealing with these things.
Yeah. So let's head back to Florida, though, because, hey, just like you mentioned, they mess with Brenda's car, right? And to slow her down so she can't get to the office, so they can, mess around with the computers for a little bit longer. And May gets to into the Apex facility. She's going to clone computers. I don't know what she's doing. But we hear the radiation alarm go off. So there's apparently a radiation leak in the facility. And dude, I was laughing at how
this is such a fun parallel to Godzilla and the idea that all of the radiation zones are actually fake. Like, there's no
you're
real
totally right.
radiation.
Exactly, because the movie starts off with them in the radiation suits, so it's at a facility for nuclear testing, which makes sense that there would be this, fallout. But once the radiation was consumed, that is a different show. But there should have been a fallout of nuclear radiation in some way, right? But the monster consumed it all. So there was no radiation. So they're kind of exactly doing that same thing. But I was laughing at how quickly their response is, dude. They're literally like, oh, there's a leak. Oh, wait, we're here. We were just passing by.
Yeah.
We're ready to go, which I thought was funny. So they show up in their yellow hazmat suits.
Nobody likes an unexpected leak in the office. You've got to deal with it quickly.
Yeah, get it done. They're
now,
checking
if it's
the
an
cameras.
unexpected radish.
Oh God! You know what's unexpected? Jokes that weren't in the script. You can't throw me off guard like this. Oh God. Well, they do check the cameras, and they do find some creatures from Skull Island in this facility, which is nice and interesting. They've got the needle walkers there. But Lee's
wait,
hey,
Brad, in the original script you didn't know the name. What's going on?
I did. The original script, you kind of cut in and said it before I could say it. So I did write it down. You can check my notes, man. They're there. It says needle walkers.
So what I think is cool with the needle walkers, though, is the fact that already we're seeing Apex collecting these creatures. So obviously in Godzilla vs. Kong, in the kind of battle arena where they have Mecha Godzilla, you see that they've got the skull crawlers and the other creatures in containment, and you kind of get the sense that, well, they've already started getting these assets. So I guess my question on that is actually, do they have everything that they have in GVK now while they've done this operation with Monarch, and do they keep a hold of them for that long? Or actually, do they continue to sneak onto Skull Island after this? Because I guess from the start of this series, right, you kind of get the sense that Apex's involvement in Skull Island is done. So I'm curious as to how that then plays out up to GVK.
Yeah, was there any mention of what level they were on or anything like that? Or Or was that? I don't remember. I don't have that in my notes.
So there's a couple of interesting details here. The first is that actually May's hacking skills prove crucial again. So I think that's really useful that you have a character with a specific skill, but as opposed to it being a trope, it's actually used here. And yes, so in this episode they go down to sub-level 10, and that's the bottom level where it seems to be. Whereas in GVK, this facility goes all the way down to sub-level 33. So what that does potentially suggest is that we might see them experimenting with the Hollow Earth transit system and the kind of like hyperloop trains that we see in Godzilla vs. Kong at some point.
Yeah, I'm personally more concerned with the water table in Florida. How are they able to do that? I mean, you can't even have a basement in Florida. How did they?
Yeah.
I don't know, man.
Well, luckily you've raised those concerns before, so I think they've had time to address them.
they've had at least an hour to figure it out. But you know what? They're not going to save these creatures, at least as far as we know. They're going to be a fight for another day. And like you said, May's logging into Holland's computer to find the Suzuki device. And
yes.
And yeah. And oh wait, hold on, guys. We've got a. Is this Monarch? Are they taking over this video? What's happening? Yeah, so Hiroshi's, I think he's in the elevator with his mom at this point, Keiko, and I really like this moment because he mentions that he used to dream of saving the world on like secret missions with his mother. I thought that was a really like cute context to the situation. Dreamed about like all the missions that his mom used to go on and their crew, and just he wanted to always be a part of that. I thought that was cute.
So it's interesting because he says his mother and father, which I think it's reference to the fact that he didn't really know his dad, isn't it? Because his father figure has sort of been Bill Randa. That's it. I mean, as far as we're aware, his father died when he was quite young.
Yeah, I was wondering who he was referencing there as well. I wasn't too sure. But yeah. But we do cut back to the boat as well. And to
the Trespass.
Jason, Cliff Curtis. I just kept writing Cliff Curtis until I figured out what his name was instead of looking at the credits. So we just see him leaving the ship for San Francisco. Yeah. He's just like, all right, I'm out of here. It seems like he's kind of abandoned.
We need
ship,
an impression,
like,
Brad. We need an impression. There's a sentence that he says. He says, "This is business. Risk versus reward. Give us."
I don't have it. I don't have it right now. I can't do that for you.
Can you do it as if it's Owen Grady?
Moving on. We're back in Florida, and the radiation alert has been lifted. Holland comes into the office. She made it there faster than I think anybody anticipated, and May's trying to basically distract her from seeing the computer. And I think Holland walks into the office, and she somehow walks in right after her, and she's like, let's look at other stuff. But Holland decides, you know what, I'm going to show you something, and she goes and shows her the creatures from Skull Island in person, which was cool. And we do this, dude. I love this whole sequence here because this reminds me of a lot of things. And Holland shows her that like their Apex is working on like these code chips to get rid of the aggression in creatures. And she mentions that like, oh, I'm not stupid. I know why you're here. Like, I know that the Suzuki device is here, and that's what you guys are doing. Like, I'm not an idiot. And so, yeah, I thought that was cool, though. She mentions the aggression chips and stuff like that. And, dude, at this point, I'm just thinking Camp Cretaceous. I'm thinking, Jurassic World, like all this stuff. I'm thinking all of that as well,
So it's more than that, because we obviously get into the moment with the chips, and I've written it down specifically. So you have the animal that comes out of containment, and it like sits on her arm peacefully once she activates it, right? And she's like, this is what we're doing. They're experimenting with synaptic connections, and this is 100% the precursor to the Mechagodzilla technology, because so I've pulled up the actual details. in Godzilla vs. Kong, Ren Serizawa uses a neural interface to control Mechagodzilla, and it's using Ghidorah's brain, but it uses a synaptic setup. So the fact that it's specifically synaptic connections here is confirming that this is eventually what goes on to make Mechagodzilla. So I think it's crazy that actually, again, right, this comes into a theme that we see interestingly throughout some of the Monsterverse, which is in trying to do the right thing, you often unleash something worse. And in this case, in May giving them her code to try and get an in back into the organization, she has actually inadvertently led to the creation of Mechagodzilla. And it's crazy to think that May is a part of that and that her character is now one of the precursors to that eventual creation.
Yeah. Yeah, huge stuff. I thought that was really cool. It was just a nice, like, subtle introduction into that kind of idea. And but at the same time, like I said, it's making me think of like all the stuff we went through with the mind control dinosaurs and things in the Jurassic franchise. So, but yeah,
only the difference here, Brad. The difference here is the connection to the film is direct. Like, imagine.
It was direct. It was direct in Camp Cretaceous as well.
I mean, eventually in Chaos Theory, but in Camp Cretaceous, it was kind of left up in the air.
Yeah, I mean, it was set up in Camp Cretaceous, and then we were left to assume that's how the dinosaurs were being controlled in Dominion, and then confirmed in Chaos Theory, right? So it was a long series, but it paid off. But in this moment in the show, back to Monarch. Okay, wait, let's go ahead. Yeah.
Talking about Jurassic parallels, we get a sequence here where the Needle Walkers get out of containment. They are causing absolute chaos in the Pensacola headquarters. And there's a moment where the three of them move like a raptor pack.
Yeah, I wrote down they're basically raptors with spikes. Like they're pretty terrifying creatures. Yeah, they're essentially just raptors. And in this moment as well, once they get out, we cut back to May, and she, like, you're looking at her and her decisions, and she's seemingly considering like siding with Apex and Brenda and all this. So, and then we do get down to see the Suzuki device, and heartbreaking moment. It's completely dismantled, and their plan is void at this point because they can't do anything with the product in front of them.
Yeah, it's just interesting seeing how it kind of chaos unfolds in this sequence. I really love that this isn't the first time, or I guess GVK isn't the first time that something really bad has happened at the Pensacola headquarters. Like you're seeing here, they've just conveniently had a specimen outbreak in the past as well.
Yeah. I don't think we get to see them handling these creatures, do we? Like getting them back under control or anything. So it's funny that the poison, whatever, what was the outbreak? The radiation was lifted.
Yeah.
There's other stuff going on. People shouldn't be going back in this building. but yeah, so we go back to the ship now, and Tim shuts down some of the Apex equipment. Cliff is gone. Jason's gone at this moment, and they do find out that they've been chasing a whale this whole time.
It's a false reading.
Tim says they were conned.
They've been chasing that second mosasaur reading that they get on the boat in Jurassic World Rebirth.
Yeah, so it was never referenced again after that quick scene, but it popped up here. Same timeline, I think.
Yeah.
Actually, I think Rebirth takes place farther in the timeline than all of these movies do.
Yeah.
Somehow.
I love this. I think it shows that Apex just, again, what I've been saying this whole time, they do not care. They are letting chaos unfold. They get into the point where thousands of people are moving because they think that Titans are coming, and they just do not care. All they're thinking about is contracts and technology. And I also like the fact that it shows them playing Monarch as well, because again, it feeds into the idea that this entity of Monarch that we are seeing right now is not necessarily the most competent version of this organization that we've seen in the universe. This is the
Yeah.
Monarch that is still largely ignoring what Doctors Graham and Serizawa are saying.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we got to get to. We're still on the road. We're on the road to King of the Monsters. We'll get there, and there's a long way to go. It feels like, but yeah, we kind of skipped over. I feel like a lot of that like evacuation stuff and everything, right? But
Yeah.
but they Lee mentions that Monarch is calling off the Titan alert. But this is the point where they do find like the pin board, like the whole wires crossing, the little ropes and everything. They do find Bill's notebook documents pinned up on the board, and it's kind of like a shocking moment for the cast, and as they uncover that.
I like how it recontextualizes that Apex have been in the background this whole time. So they've always kind of had Billy's work. Because that, like, presumably they've been around during the events of Godzilla, right? And we just didn't know that they were around in the background, which is quite cool. I've got a note here.
Well, I mean, they at least
this sequence.
I assume they were around for Godzilla, unless it was like a one-man show, like what's his name, Simmons or something, is like, enough of this.
Walter.
Like we gotta do something about this, which I could see him saying, like, all right, I've got a lot of money, I can take care of this. And that's when they start to pick up the pieces, and we see in 2015 they pick up this notebook and everything. So, but yeah, I wonder how much they were in the background during the Godzilla events. I forget it. Maybe season one showed
it's interesting as well, right? It's interesting because I'm then like, well, actually, did Apex start here, or do they go even further back? And that's stuff which I think could be interesting to explore in the future, right? So
Apex, Legacy
I really
of
like
Monsters.
the way they're layering this. Yeah. But what we do get here, I think it's before we go to our final moment, is we get a brief moment that shows us Billy in the Skull Island costume. And that just tugged on my heartstrings again, where I was like, yeah, he's dead. Like, it does such a good job of really hammering that home at this point, I think.
Yeah, I don't think there was any timeline or anything that popped up for like when this is, but this has got to be whatever that 11, whatever year it was, 1957 or so, I guess. That's at least when that letter was written. So I'm assuming he left somewhere around there. And but yeah, I just lost where I was in my note. Oh, it's he young hero doesn't want Bill to go away.
No.
And Bill mentions, I'm always going to come back. I always come back. Like, that's what I do.
Yeah. Oh, mate. Yeah.
Yeah. But Bill, like, I don't know if you were like noticing, but he just looks so tired. He looks so defeated.
Yes.
And
that, I think, not to be brutal to John Goodman, but I really feel like that's how he looks at the start of Skull Island as well. Like, he looks, I would use the word haggard. He looks like he is a man who is absolutely at the bottom of the rung. He's got his last shot, and that's kind of how that film is presented, right? This is Monarch's last shot. And I love how you kind of see how this character degrades to that point.
Yeah, I mean, I'm trying to recontextualize things here. So if he did leave like around, I don't know if it was 1957 or whatever, we do see 62, 63, 64, him just wandering around, I guess, on his, I'm still at this point, I'm like still waiting to know, like, why did he leave? Like, why did he leave this kid? Because Hero doesn't want to go away. I guess he goes away to live with like family members somewhere, and he doesn't want to do that this time around, and he wants to go, I think. But like, I'm still struggling at this point of like, why would Bill abandon him, even if he did read that letter? Like,
but Brad, it's obvious. He wants him to be the hero of his own story.
Yeah. That was definitely it. That's definitely the reason. Hey, kid, you don't need me anymore. You can be the hero of your own story. I don't know why he kind of is getting a little bit Owen-y there, but,
I feel like there's generally one Brad Jost impression, and that is Owen Grady.
Yeah, that's true. But yeah, so it's still a heartbreaking moment for me to see these two like, disconnect here. And Bill gives him a cartography book, which obviously, you know, sits well with him. He continues all that work and continues working kind of in that same vein. So, I just, I'm still struggling. I think at this point of like, why would he leave? But we cut back to the current timeline. We're in Florida again, and we do see that Bill did complete his migratory route. And I'm like, did he leave like just to complete this legacy? Like, I don't know. Like, it just doesn't seem like a solid enough reason to abandon a kid at all. So I don't really know why he did that. But we do know that he completed it, and they do know that the Titans' next stop should be that Santa Soledad location that was from the past that we've seen before. And we know that also May did not meet up with their crew. She's going to be staying with Holland at this point. And did you just raise your hand? What was that?
No, I was wiping my hair.
Okay. I was like looking at him in the corner of my eye. I'm like, does he have something to say? Yes, sir. But Kate is now in Florida.
As if I'd call you, sir.
Yeah, I know, right? But we do get a hero reading Keiko's letter to Lee.
Yes.
And that's the end of the episode.
I think that was such a cool way of
through that one fairly
bringing
quick,
it all back together. Yeah. Like I just love that it pivots. And again, you know that Keiko and Hero are going to have that uncomfortable conversation of actually they're more alike than they realize.
Oh yeah, for sure. It's gonna be interesting, and I feel like was it the next episode? I don't know. I have to look at my notes, but there was some fun stuff that I was like, I need to know some more context. But yeah, a good ending to this episode. May kind of not backstabbing them, but like not, just seeing where it leads. I think she said something along those lines of like, I need to see this through. I need to see where this goes. And with
that's
Holland.
exactly it.
And it's honestly, it's a good move. I feel like she kind of agrees with their thought process a little bit.
She can do this, like she can kind of see it, which I guess you can think of, right, is if the Titans are as chaotic as they are, or as destructive as they are, maybe you have to do a little bit of bad in order to contain that. But I think it's interesting for us as the viewer, because we kind of, having seen GVK, we know that their little bit of bad is absolutely horrific. So we kind of have the context of knowing that May is making the wrong choice.
Yeah, but like, there's no reason to assume she's making the wrong choice, really, in this moment, right? Like, she's presented with a good case
exactly. For
her, fixing this.
For her, there's not. But that's where I think they play with the idea of you as a viewer knowing more than the character quite well, because you know where Apex goes.
For sure. But yeah, any final wrap ups here for this episode that you can think of?
I have a final wrap up, which is we've referenced your Owen Grady impression today. So in a bit of a detour from this, I've sent you something on Facebook that you can include in the final edit of this episode.
Okay. Oh, great. What do you say? Great. Yeah, I'll have to include that into the episode for sure. Make me do more work. Why don't you?
They just bite him in the arm. Look at that spot. It's unblocked by the armor. Just get him. Just go ahead and bite him. Look, hurry up. I'll grab his computer.
I love how you literally just saw the thumbnail and you
I saw the thumbnail. Yeah, I didn't have to hit play. I knew exactly what it was. And the fact that you had that on hand, dude, is unreal. Dude, I don't know. When was that made? 2018?
2019.
2019? Oh my God, dude. Unreal. You just have that sitting on hand there. But yeah, episode 4 in the books. Now, we did mention last week a comment from YouTube, and I wanted to go back even before that. I
Yes.
think there was another comment I forgot about. I remember at the end of the last episode, I
Yeah.
was like, I think there was something else, but I don't remember. I remembered, and there was another comment over on YouTube from that preview episode, and this was, I guess, in reference to what was it? One of the pteranodon-ish creatures, or what was the creature?
Yes.
Do you remember?
We now know it's called the Psycho Vulture because this
Okay.
commenter very kindly shared that with us.
Yeah, so this comment says, that's not a new Skull Island species. Yes, it is the debut in live action form, but it was actually introduced in the Skull Island, The Birth of Kong series of comics, all the way back in 2017. And we got another comment that's from the same person. Oh, I should mention this is from Gianme98. Gianme 98.
Yes.
Sorry, probably butchered that. It says, "P.S. They're called psycho vultures, and the moment I saw the clip, in my mind was blown. That's such a deep cut species for the hardcore fans. The last thing they took from the MonsterVerse comic, the first one is Lee Shaw himself. But this story is, of course, changed from page to screen, being the comic not canon anymore. So Lee Shaw was in this comic as well?
Apparently so. Yeah, and I
Gotta
need
go
to go
back
away
and-
and read that, actually. I found
Yeah.
that quite interesting. I mean, what I would say on that comment is, as we established in our last episode, I'm a casual Monsterverse fan, and Brad is an extremely casual Monsterverse fan. So
I take
please,
offense
if
to
you
this.
have got any knowledge... if you have got any... I mean, hey, Brad, I'm just saying one of us is in costume. If you have any knowledge that you would like
I'm
to
dressing
share...
as Tim.
about connections
On
fair
a
play,
Sunday.
fair play. About connections that we're not noticing, then please do share them. It's really interesting for us genuinely to get those comments and to kind of see where fans who are deeply invested in the Monsterverse are getting those connections and those takeaways as well.
Yeah, and I think this is kind of like the inverse of last week in a way, right? Where it was like, well, the comics are kind of like the thing we should be adhering to more, but this one's like, you know what? Hey, at least it was included. That's really cool that like this stuff came from the comics, despite not being canon really at all. So I thought that was pretty cool. But yeah, hey, and like Tom said, keep commenting, and we'll keep reading them here on the show. I should read this one too. This was on your review. That was also on YouTube, and it says, "Where can I learn some of this beautiful vocabulary you use? Please recommend a way that I can build my speaking skills."
You gave a laughing response, and I gave a proper reply.
You did.
I gave a proper reply.
Well, I laughed because I'm thinking about what I think in my head when you're talking, and I'm like, bro, so eloquent. And I'm like, I have nothing of use to add, which you've realized, right? Like, I have nothing of use to add most of the time when you're finished talking. I'm like, that was too eloquent for me. I don't know where to go from here. So yes, I totally agree, and I'm laughing with this person.
I do.
Here, yes.
I like how what I've noticed with us doing this series is sometimes I'll come out with something, and then the defense mechanism from you will be, going back to this detail. Anyway, moving on.
I gotta move on, man. I got no other way to talk about it. I've got nothing else to say other than next up, we're in the past, or hey, we're back to the future here. I've got nothing else to add. Okay, so appreciate it. But yes, that is episode 4. So Tom, where can people find you online, and what's up with you? Where can they talk Monsterverse with you?
You can find me at Tom_Jurassic, but also Jurassic Collectibles. And Jurassic Collectibles, we are going to be doing a series of... I mean, by the time this goes out, they're all already going to be out, so it's a bit pointless me plugging this, really. But we will have just had a series of reviews gone out on the Jurassic World Reimagined line. So the Reimagined Indominus Rex, the Giga and Therizinosaurus, the Triceratops, and the motorcycle pack with the Raptors. So do check out those reviews if you would like to see how I react to creatures that are slightly less than Titanic in proportion.
Yeah. Is this the one you do?
I'm excited for that. Yeah.
Yeah, I love this, man, because this is just
It feels so much like the Hasbro hybrid
it's the
version.
Hasbro one. Yeah, and I think,
Yeah.
with the reimagined stuff kind of revisiting old toys, that's exactly what this is.
Yeah.
Also, it's like the same Indominus that was featured in that Lego short, right?
Yeah.
Like the at the very tail
I
end.
mean, the Reimagine line has done the ultimate Jurassic Park tribute now in the fact that it seems to have gone extinct.
So true. So true. We'll see. Mixed signals from Mattel this year at Toy Fair. I don't know what to believe anymore, but yeah, go find me over on Letterboxd. Again, just switching tones. I'm not even going to continue talking about it. Brad Jost over on Letterboxd, and go follow the Forcecast as well, my other show. I don't really mention the Jurassic Park podcast. We should talk about that too, even though
is that where people can get more of your Owen Grady impression?
You can get definitely some more Owen Grady impressions. There's definitely Mr. DNA. So here's the thing. My live streams every Wednesday night, 9 p.m. EST, Wednesday night, I typically go into so many different impressions. If you really want impressions, you've got them all. You never know if you're going to get somebody from like Hank Hill from like King of the Hill, or if you're going to get like Elmo or SpongeBob or Patrick. You might get Owen
can you
Grady.
Do Elmo? Can you do Elmo?
I'm not doing anything for you right now. No. You need to join. That's what the live streams are for. This is it's like Patreon, right? Like a lot of people are like, "Hey, come see my Patreon. You can find a special episode. Just go watch my live stream. You can go watch it anytime and see me do these voices."
Do you take requests?
Yeah, pretty much. Basically, people just start mentioning stuff, and then I just can't. You don't even have to request. You just say a thing, and I'll just start talking like it. So yeah, my brain is wired differently, I think, on Wednesday nights, 9 p.m. EST on the Jurassic Park Podcast YouTube channel. So go check out that. Go check out the Forcecast, where we talk all about Star Wars, and the Grim Grinning Host Show podcast, where we talk about theme parks, pop culture, and I don't know if you've seen it, but there is an attraction, like a Godzilla Kong style attraction that is like in those hovercraft. What are those called? The lifeboats or whatever they're called.
Yeah.
Is that what they're called? The things that like fly around.
Oh no! You're talking about the heaves. The HEAVs.
Yeah. Whatever. I don't know where I got lifeboats from. Maybe that's from something else. But yeah. Anyway, there's an incredible attraction. I don't know where it is.
Rest in pieces.
Yeah, there's some ride somewhere around the world. I don't know where it is, but it's not here, and I want to ride it. It looks awesome. And I'm begging Universal and Grim Grinning Hosts all the time to like make a Godzilla, Monsterverse ride. So we'll see. But anyway, thank you everybody. Stay safe, be kind, and as always, enjoy.
Rewind. Oh yeah.